about to watch me read Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. And yes, I am in the car when I'm reading this. This book is all the rage on the spicy side of Booktok, and so I really wanted to read it, and I finally decided now is the time. But because when it comes to Booktok books, you never know if they're actually going to be as good as they're hyped up to be, so we're going to find out. But I'm really excited about this book. The concept of it, at least from my understanding, is a little bit different, a little bit out there. It's about a woman, and she's dating this guy, but she's really into his dad. And so it kind of reminds me of that old song, Stacy's Mom, because it's the guy's kind of into the other person. And so yeah, it'll be very interesting. It's a forbidden romance kind of story, and so I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm also I have no idea if I'm gonna like this, but we'll find out. Of course, obviously she's an adult in this book. If she wasn't, I'd be ew, gross. But no, she's an adult, so that makes it okay, I guess. I feel I'm going to be questioning my morals reading this book, but I'm honestly really happy to read it. So yeah, of course the expectations of this book are very high because it's so hyped up. So let's start reading Birthday Girl. So far. This book is really well written. I really enjoyed just the main characters. How can I forget her name already? Jordan. Just watching Jordan as a character is really cool. She's pretty young, she's 19 years old, but she's a really mature 19-year-old just because of the circumstances and what her life was growing up. So I think that kind of makes the relationship a little bit less weird, to me at least, because she doesn't act like your standard run-of-the-mill 19-year-old girl. And then on the flip side, there's Pike, which is her boyfriend's dad. And I really like Pike as well. I think that he's really honorable. He's got good integrity. He's trying to do the right thing, and he's trying to just help support people who are down on their luck. Because basically what happened is Jordan's boyfriend kind of sucks a lot. And this again makes it a lot easier to want to root for her and his dad to be together, because the boyfriend does not hold his share. Oh look, there's the thing. He doesn't hold his share of the relationship. He basically relies on her to do every single thing for him, even the point of her taking out student loans to help pay for his car that he totaled because he was driving under the influence and all that. And so yeah, he's not a very good guy. And he was basically planning a birthday party for her, and the sentiment is nice, but he and his friends didn't want to wait for her to come back from work, so they just started partying, and they ended up doing really bad damages to her apartment. And so she couldn't afford it because she's really poor, and she doesn't have her family support or anything except for her sister, and her sister works as a dancer at a club, and so it's not really the life that Jordan wants. And so she's kind of working as a bartender, and she can't afford to fix all the damages that her boyfriend and his friends did to her place. And so the boyfriend's dad invites them to stay as long as they do the chores and they help around the house and help cook and stuff, and they can stay there until they make enough money to get back on their feet. And what's really interesting is that she meets Pike before she even knows who he is. They have this really kind of nice interaction at the movie theater together, and then they find out who they are, and they're uh-oh. So now we're just kind of following around that kind of tension, right? They're living under the same roof, and the boyfriend's off just doing bad things and stuff, and he's not there. They have opposite schedules and stuff as well. So it's interesting to just see how the relationship is developing. And do I feel weird about it? Still yes, but am I intrigued? 100%. So I will continue to read Birthday Girl, and I will update you when I get to the halfway mark. So I'll see you then.
I'm now about halfway through Birthday Girl, and I'm really surprised that there's not really any spice yet. Like, I had the expectations that this was going to be spicy, spicy, spicy. I mean, I imagine it's going to happen pretty soon, but I'm just like a little bit surprised that it hasn't gotten spicy yet. But I love the slow burn. The slow burn of this is really good, which is kind of funny because I just finished another slow burn, which was Ready or Not. And so maybe I'm just reading slow burns one after the other. But slow burns are my favorite type of romance, especially if it's like a slow burn enemies to lovers. So they're not really enemies in this one, but you get my gist. You get what I'm talking about. I really like the two main characters. I really like Jordan and I really like Pike. The age difference still weirds me out. It will continue to weird me out. But I really just like the way that they kind of like mesh, the way that they support each other, the way that like just the way that they just work really well together. Like, I'll be enough, like, it is, again, it's kind of weird because of how young she is, but like, I know the author had purposely made Jordan more mature for her age, so it's a little bit less strange. But I mean, I think that if I was like Jordan's mother or something, I'd be like, Jordan, what are you doing, girl? Like, But Pike is like a good guy, so like, I feel like the whole point of this is like, you don't really know everybody's life, everybody's situation, and maybe these two people, like, they do work really well together. I mean, they're not even together, they haven't even kissed yet, but again, like, that's slow burn. But I think it's pretty interesting. And they seem to be the rare kind of acceptable major age gap couple, but it seems to work for them because none of them is like, there's no like power, like imbalance of power. There is nobody's controlling each other. Like, when Pike kind of steps out of line, he realizes that he's doing it, reels himself back, apologizes, and Jordan does the same thing as well. And so like, they're kind of learning how to communicate with each other, and I think that that's really good. Like, they have really good communication, unlike Jordan's boyfriend. Yeah, that guy just sucks. That guy just sucks. That's pretty much what he is. So I'm definitely enjoying the book. I love the way that it's written. It's fun, of course, and it's just like kind of wholesome in a way, just like following these characters along. But I am very hopeful that there is going to be some spice coming up because I think I just where the story is right now, it would be the perfect time. And so I'm excited to see like, what's that gonna be like? Like, obviously something is gonna happen with them, and so it's like, what is that going to be like? Are they instantly gonna be like, yeah, like, let's be together? Probably not. There's probably gonna be a lot of confusion like there is throughout the entire book, where they're like, So I am going to continue to read Birthday Girl, and I will update you either like towards the end of the book or when I finish it. So I will see you in my next update. I just finished reading Penelope Douglas's Birthday Girl, and I enjoyed it more than I expected to. It definitely was not nearly as spicy as I expected. Honestly, it was like not spicy at all. I would say the spiciest books I've ever read to date have been Icebreaker and Throne of the Fallen. Those two were what I consider spicy. This one had a few spicy scenes, but not really. But I think like the hype about it is more about kind of that forbidden romance. Now, I obviously don't want to be like a judgmental person, so I went into this book with an open mind, trying not to be too weirded out about like the 20-year age difference. But it actually kind of worked for these characters, but in my opinion, it's an anomaly. Like, I don't think that kind of age gap would work often. But I think for these characters, for Jordan and for Pike, it worked because they were like very aligned with like how they wanted to live their lives, like what their long-term goal and like future goals are. It also worked out because like they would communicate with each other. There are definitely times where like Jordan is being very, very childish and very immature and stuff, and Pike can be a bit controlling at times, a little bit too much like he's her dad, which that was like a little awkward and stuff. Like, yeah, it was like kind of weird. But despite the obvious awkward kind of like taboo aspects of the book, it was really well done. And I think that it's because this author, Penelope Douglas, like really understands how to create communication between characters, how to flesh characters out and make them feel real, and also just show you like what they're thinking, because both of them know like it's kind of forbidden, like you don't want to be with the boyfriend's dad. It's done in a really good way where you're focused on the characters and the tension and the angst and the thoughts, and like, is it really so bad? None of them are really taking advantage of each other. At first it may seem like that, right? She moves into Pike's house rent-free. He never does anything, if that makes sense. Like, he controls like his thoughts. They obviously met before she even knew who he was, and like the sparks were already flying at that point. So it wasn't like he was like, ooh, you're in my house and now you're gonna have to pay me with your body kind of thing. That was not at all what the story was. They had like a genuine connection. They would chat, they would hang out. It's really similar to like if you had roommates and they just kind of got to know each other, which oddly enough, that's my story. My story is that I met my boyfriend because we were roommates. Well, like housemates, like he lived upstairs and I lived way down in the basement. But still, I think that that dynamic makes sense and it's real because you get to know somebody and you just happen to be there and you get to know each other. And I think that this story does a really good job in that, especially like when both of them realize they're starting to have these like interesting thoughts about each other. And he's like, no, I can't do that. Like, I'm too old. She has her whole life ahead of her. And she's like, nah, like I can't do this. Like, he's the dad, those kind of vibes. But they eventually kind of like work through the complicated feelings. Like, they talk about it and it, oddly enough, it works. Now, I'm pretty sure that if I was somebody who lived in that town, I would have very similar reactions to the majority of everybody in that town had, which was like, what is going on? Is he a creep? Those kind of vibes. But when you actually understand the characters and you follow along their story, you know that that's not really the case. And I think that that's what this book is trying to like teach you, that you don't always know people's situations and how they're living their lives and like what they're doing. And this book kind of highlights a lot on that theme about, yeah, it looks weird, but these characters are actually really good for each other. Although at 19, I'm not sure like how well your decisions would be in terms of that, especially because like they get together pretty early on, like she just turned 19. But then I think about like my favorite series, The Court of Thorns and Roses, and Feyre was like 19. Reese is like 500. So it's interesting because in that kind of context, you're like, oh, that's fine, he's like 500. But in this context, it's a 20-year age gap and it's like, that's weird. But why is it weird? And like, I don't know, it's just food for thought, I guess. So yeah, I really did enjoy Birthday Girl. The idea of it still doesn't sit very well with me, but it was well done and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Characters were well done. The story was well done. And of course the writing, like that's what really stands out about this book, how well it's written and how well this situation is handled, especially with that bonus scene that came with the copy that I have. And it really answers some of those questions and plays on to the thoughts of the townspeople. So I think that I'll be awarding Birthday Girl a total of 4 stars today, which is pretty good, considering that I don't know if I really approved of the relationship in the story, but I enjoyed it well enough. So, you know, sometimes it's okay to be uncomfortable, expand your horizons. That's one of the reasons why I picked this book up, also because that's all Booktok talks about, but because it's different, and I like to read different books. So the next book that I'll be reading is Stephanie Garber's Caravel trilogy, so I'm very excited about this because I was obsessed, I still am obsessed, with the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. That was, I still think about that. And so this is apparently comes before that, and what I read was the spinoff, so I feel like I'm gonna get a lot more context in this book, but I absolutely love her writing. It's so like whimsical and magical, and I really feel like that's gonna carry over into this book, so I will be reading this next. So if you're interested in watching me read a Caravel, Stormlight Archive series from Brandon Sanderson I'm reading as well. So if you're interested in that or anything along those kind of like genres, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely hit that like button and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!